new report from an independent federal court monitor has determined the death of an 8-year-old migrant girl while in U.S. Border Patrol custody was a, quote, preventable tragedy.
It also says her demise raises profound concerns, that's their language, about the U.S. government's process for caring for migrants at the southern border. Anadith Dene Reyes-Alvarez died May 17th after crossing the U.S.-Mexico border in Texas with her family. She suffered from sickle cell anemia and a heart condition and was denied at least 3 requests for an ambulance prior to her death. In response to the report, U.S. Customs and Border Patrol acknowledged it, quote, cannot change the tragic outcome in this situation, but says it will do better to ensure that this does not happen again.
Joining us now in Studio 57 is CBS News immigration reporter Camilo Montoya-Galvez. Camilo, you've been watching all this. You've followed it from the very beginning. Tell us, how did the independent monitor reach this conclusion? Not only that her death was preventable, but how tragic it was that so many times help was asked for and was denied.
Well, I think we have to underscore the facts of this tragic case. We know that Anadith and her family members, her parents and siblings, were apprehended by Border Patrol in May and detained for over a week in the agency's custody, despite internal rules that say agents should not hold on to migrants for beyond 72 hours, 3 days. That did not happen in this case. They were held for over a week. We also know that in the last facility where the family was held, Anadith received and requested medical attention at least 9 separate times because she was experiencing pain and flu symptoms. She also had a fever. At one point, mom requested an ambulance for the girl, actually repeatedly, and those requests were denied. One of the damning facts that have been revealed as part of this investigation is that a nurse contractor at the facility admitted to denying at least 3 requests, separate requests from the mom to take the girl to the hospital. When she had a seizure and she was actually taken to the hospital, she was pronounced dead soon after. So this is a very tragic case. And this independent monitor said that these failures by Customs and Border Protection to take the girl to the hospital earlier on and to intervene earlier on resulted in her passing away in custody, and that it was clearly preventable.
What's so heartbreaking about this, as we see images of young Anadith smiling in her very brief life, is that it's not just one person's error here. There seems to be a number of people, from the agent to this contracted nurse, who didn't do what they were supposed to do. So then now what? What becomes as a result of this report, and will anyone within the CBP be held accountable?
Well, the acting head of Customs and Border Protection, CBP, Troy Miller, has called this case tragic and unacceptable, and he actually ordered a review of at-risk migrants and families in detention to make sure that these vulnerable populations are released expeditiously from the agency's custody. Again, Border Patrol is not supposed to detain migrants for long periods of time, but these migrants oftentimes, just like her family, are detained for over a week, which is problematic because the agency does not have sufficient healthcare resources to meet the needs of these populations. The agency is also still conducting an ongoing investigation that could result in disciplinary action or even criminal referrals, but that remains ongoing.
And no matter your politics, it's important to remember that these are human beings. On that note, Camilla, I want to ask you about something else. A Texas trooper is alleging that state officials have used, quote, inhumane practices to deter illegal crossings at the border. What details can you give us? How are Texas officials, for example, responding?
Well, just to sublet here, Governor Greg Abbott of Texas has deployed Department of Public Safety and National Guardsmen to the U.S.-Mexico border to deter illegal crossings. And they're doing that by setting up razor wire along the riverbanks of the Rio Grande, by literally telling migrants not to come into the U.S. and to go back to Mexico, and more recently by setting up these river barriers in the middle of the Rio Grande to stop people from crossing the river. The trooper at the center of this allegation is saying that these actions by the state are putting migrants, including children, in harm's way. He referenced cases of migrants, including a pregnant woman, being cut by the razor wire, and he says that these efforts by Texas are diverting migrants into more dangerous routes into the U.S. where they could drown or be cut by the wire. He also made more incredible allegations that officials have been instructed to withhold water from migrants and to push migrants back into the river when they already are on the U.S. soil, including children. So these allegations are being investigated now by the Inspector General at the Texas Department of Public Safety, but that agency has specifically denied having directives to withhold water for migrants or to physically push migrants into the river. But this is not the last time we're going to hear about these allegations, I think.
All right, Camilo, thank you.
Thank you, Camilo.
And Camilo and our own Lilia Luciano will have a special story with the parents of Anadith Dene Reyes Alvarez on CBS Mornings tomorrow. It airs at 7 a.m. Eastern. You can also stream that conversation at 8 a.m. right here on the CBS News app.